Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Appreciate you jumping on. We got some good stuff for you today coming out of DC Fintech Week, so please stay tuned for that. Before we jump in, let's take a look at pricing. Bitcoin up 1.5% to 67,758. Great to see. Ethereum, the opposite direction, down 1.79%, sitting at 2,535. Solana up 3.71%. So some great activity for Solana, sitting at 175.41, and XRP up a half percentage at 53 cents. So some of the items moving in the right direction there. Let's jump in to some news. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It certainly helps the channel. Starting off with subjective views here and an interview with Brad Garlinghouse at DC Fintech Week. Take a listen.
Momentum, with the Fit 21 Act passing the House this summer in a bipartisan way, there appears to be some momentum around that. So maybe we'll get that sometime soon.
And then, as you mentioned at the top, of course, earlier this month, the agency did appeal part of that decision. So is there anything, any updates there that we need to know?
Nothing, that will progress. It'll take, call it a year to kind of go through the system. That I think it'll be interesting. The filing work that they'll have to do kind of comes out in January. By then, of course, we'll know if there's what the presidential election yields. It'll be interesting to see if there's a shift, and they could abandon that appeal. They could continue with it. I think obviously many federal courts have agreed that the SEC's war and kind of Gensler's reign of terror on crypto has been misguided. And I think they've gotten kind of smacked down by several courts with language. In our case, it was, quote, and I'm quoting a judge and saying this, that the SEC has failed to follow a faithful allegiance to the law. In another case, they described the SEC as it relates to, this is a grayscale case, they're being arbitrary and capricious. I think many in the industry have asked for many years, we want to follow the rules. We need to have clarity about what the rules are. And the SEC has changed the rules. Their own interpretation of the rules have changed at times. And, anyway, it's frustrating. I've already said many things about this, and I will say many more, I'm sure.
So one of the key things he said there, which Subjective Views highlights here, is SEC could abandon appeal. So they could just drop it. I haven't heard Brad Garlinghouse or Stuart Alderati or others say that to this point. So very interesting and great catch there from Subjective Views. Moving on to Molly Elmore. I haven't posted or discussed a lot about Molly here, but she is great. Love her shares. I love the information she brings to us. She reshares here from Brick News. Just in, BRICS to discuss ending reliance on the US dollar with 40 countries on October 24th. That happens to be today, and that has already begun, that BRICS summit. And just so you know, in case you don't, Project Sandman is a term that has been circulating. Some may call it a conspiracy theory. Others just call it discussions around the globe on financial systems, particularly within some cryptocurrency and alternative finance communities. While there's no official or verified initiative called Project Sandman from governments or financial institutions, the term is often associated with the following narrative. Is that a group of nations, particularly those outside of the U.S. and Western financial systems, would simultaneously abandon the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. It suggests that this would happen in a coordinated fashion, with dozens of countries acting together to de-dollarize and switch to other forms of trade or currency reserves, like gold or alternative currencies. And that's what appears to be happening. So Operation Sandman seems to be alive and well, and I'm sure we'll hear more coming out of the BRICS summit today. Another one here from Subjective Views. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse says there are indications the Harris campaign wants to reset some of the very flawed approaches that the Biden administration has had with the crypto industry. Let's take a listen to this interview.
Your co-founder, Chris Larson, has given a lot of money to the Harris campaign. You had just told us a little bit ago that you are fiercely independent. And so when you think about the differences in the candidates and how they might approach crypto, what do you really know, particularly because the Harris campaign has been far more vague?
Well, I think there's one thing I feel very confident about, and that is the Biden administration's approach to regulation of the crypto industry. That is coming to an end for sure. And I think no matter where this plays out at the presidential level, we'll have a more constructive engagement with this industry. It's a critical industry, it's an innovative technology, and I think the United States should be at the forefront and leading, as we did with the Internet of Information. I think we'll get there. As I said yesterday at the Philadelphia Federal Reserve, I think Gary Gensler's reign of terror on the crypto industry is going to come to an end very soon.
Brad, in your view, does it matter if Kamala Harris is president come January 20th or Donald Trump is president come January 20th? What's better for you? What's better for Ripple?
Well, I've taken a very neutral point of view. For the crypto industry, I think it's clear that the Republicans at a macro level have been more proactive in saying this is an industry that needs clear regulation. You have seen a Republican-led bill in the House pass with 71 or 72 Democrats crossing the aisle to support that in a very bipartisan way. So I think we have seen a more Republican-centric but I also think you've seen indications that the Harris campaign wants to reset some of the very flawed approaches that the Biden administration has had with the crypto industry and other parts of technology. So what I'm optimistic about is we're going to see a change. We're going to see a reset. And I think we need that at the federal level. The United States, there's no question, the United States is behind other leading countries like the UK, like Switzerland, like Singapore, like Japan, that are way ahead in providing constructive and clear regulation and rules of the road for this industry.
So much of what we heard from the past from Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple and the other crypto players are really just looking for regulation and clear rules of the road. So hopefully we will get that in the near future. But again, it'll probably be when Gary Gensler is ousted from his position and somebody new is in there. Moving on to...
Or so the U.S. dollar loses reserve currency status. We see the BRICS nations start to transact maybe with a gold-backed currency.
Let's get back to DAI here, digital asset investor.
Your co-founder, Chris.
And he says, you won't see this on @crypto. Crypto industry hate for @Ripple is alive and well. Many of you remember during the early days of uncovering ETHgate, the entire crypto industry gleefully watched the SEC sue Ripple and didn't lift a finger to help until much later when they realized they would be next. Turns out they are still bitter. I watched many sessions with @Digital Perspectives at DC Fintech Week 2024, and this was not my imagination. It didn't happen in any of them until Brad Garlinghouse came on stage. All of a sudden, there was a mass exodus from the room when he came up. I was shocked to the point I looked at Digital Perspectives and said, why is everyone leaving? The room was full of regulators and attorneys, many of which were covered during ETHgate. The XRP army uncovered the plot, and they still haven't forgotten. The XRP Unleashed documentary is more important than ever, and selling out for a reason. More of this video on my YouTube channel tomorrow. That post coming from DAI. So interesting. I've never seen or heard anything like this before. But apparently when Brad Garlinghouse came on stage here, and you can see the video quickly, people begin walking out. I won't show you the whole thing, but he's suggesting here that it's because of how they exposed ETHgate, and many people in the room were named, I guess, or questioned, and now they're a little salty, I would say. So interesting find there from DAI. Unfortunate folks have to be like that, but it is what it is. Let's move on to Smoke Dog here. And Smoke Dog says gold can be officially revalued to $10,000 as liquidity enters the system. Take a listen here.
Or so the US dollar loses its reserve currency status. We see the BRICS nations start to transact maybe with a gold-backed currency, commodities-backed currency, or we see gold in some form or another reintroduced into the global monetary system. Does that mean at the moment gold is still quite undervalued relative to what the potential price that it could be as we look forward into the future?
Yeah, the price of gold always follows the amount of, liquidity in the system, the amount of money in circulation, the amount of debt. Based on this ratio, gold could go much higher. And in a official, more formal gold revaluation plan where gold is being reintroduced into the system, you could expect gold being revalued even north of $10,000 per ounce. I think currently we're in a revaluation process where market forces bring the gold price up. Today we're reaching 2,400 again. I wouldn't be surprised to see $3,000 gold within the next 12 months. Even Citigroup has published their prediction towards that target, I think earlier this week. And silver is especially of interest because silver is still trading almost 50% below its 1980 and 2011 top of $50. So there's so much catching up to do for silver. And we run the Commodity Discovery Fund, and we are adding to our silver positions quite massively in the last few weeks because we see many indicators that silver could have a big run. And if you look at the volume indicators, the volume of trading in the SIL and SILJ, you see a very strong jump in the volume, even much more than in the GDX.
Well, let's touch on silver then, because...
So good find there by Smoke Dog. We know countries are certainly hoarding gold. They're increasing their gold reserves. This is a trend that has accelerated in recent years. This is often seen as part of a broader strategy for countries to diversify away from the US dollar and strengthen their national currencies. So I'm sure we're going to continue to see countries hoarding gold as we move into the future. But that's the video for today, folks. Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on X at Orlando Mott, MOTT, and we'll see you on the flip side.